Good morning, everyone. How are you today? I hope the good Lord has kept you well. I'm glad to be back here again to share our word of the week with you. And today, what I have for you is we're going to be talking about following instructions. I always tell you that the kingdom of God, or God, the God we serve, is a very organized God. So everything has instructions. Right from the book that we follow, we read and study, the Bible, everything is instructions. So if we have to get God working in our lives, we need to follow His instructions very, very carefully. So I'm going to be reading from the book of 1 Samuel chapter 10 verse 8, and then I'll skip and read from chapter 13 verse 8 to 14. Verse 8 says, "Then go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I am coming to you to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice peace offerings. 7 days you will wait until I come to you and show you what you shall do." This was Samuel telling Saul before he got anointed to be king over Israel. So I'm going to skip and read from chapter 13, verse 8 to 14. Okay, this is what it says. "He waited 7 days." This is Saul now. "He waited 7 days, the time appointed by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattering from him. So Saul said, 'Bring the burnt offering here to me and the peace offerings.' And he offered the burnt offering." So now remember, Samuel told him to wait for him, not to offer anything, because he needed to tell him what to do. And then verse 10 says, "As soon as he had finished offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him and greet him." 11, "Samuel said, 'What have you done?' And Saul said, 'When I saw the people were scattering from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines had mustered at Michmash, I said, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the favor of the Lord.'" So he thought to do it by himself. Yeah. "So I forced myself." He actually says, "I forced myself and offered the burnt offering." Verse 13 says, "And Samuel said to Saul, 'You have done foolishly. You have not kept the command of the Lord your God, with which he commanded you. For then the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever.'" Verse 14, "But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be prince over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you." Right. I hope we get the story right. Now, Samuel told Saul to wait for him 7 days. He was going to come and show him how to offer the burnt offering. So Saul waited for a little time. Yes, 7 days passed, but Samuel did not come exactly after that time. So he sought to do the offerings himself, but he needed to be shown what to do, as he was new in this thing. So he did not wait for Samuel. He went ahead and offered and did the offerings by himself. So when Samuel came, he told him that he had done foolishly. Why am I saying that we should obey instructions? His kingdom was he was supposed to reign forever. His kingdom was supposed to stay longer. However, this could not happen because he simply did not follow what Samuel told him. Samuel was a prophet of God, so he was getting instructions from God and giving them to Saul. So Saul needed to obey and follow the instructions the way they were given to him. So look at the other people in the Bible. For example, I'm going to give you an example of Abraham. God told Abraham that go on such and such a mountain and sacrifice your only son as a burnt offering. He obeyed the instruction and he went and did as exactly what God had told him. In the end, God provided himself a lamb. So Abraham's son was never offered as a burnt offering. It all came from his obedience. It all came from his following instruction the way it was given to him. Another example, the man that was sitting beside the pool waiting for healing, Jesus told him, carry your mat and walk. Simple instruction, carry your mat and walk. If this man disobeyed Jesus, he would be sitting there by the pool even until now. That is, if the pool is even still there. He would still be sitting there if he had not obeyed that simple instruction. Look at Moses. He wronged God in a couple of ways. Just like all of us, we have all fallen short of God's glory. However, one of the reasons as to why he could not even access the promised land is because God told him that speak to the rock and water will come out of it. What did Moses do? He struck the rock. Regardless, the water still came. God had told him to speak to it, not to strike it. So if you want God to work in your life, you gotta follow what he's telling you. The work we are doing on this planet Earth is God's. It's not ours. It is God's. Like I say every now and then, that every life, every single soul that is created on this planet has a purpose. That purpose is a divine purpose. All of us have one. So if what we are doing is the work of God, how will you prevail without following the instructions of the one who is teaching you? Take an example of yourself or anybody doing an examination. There are instructions that you are supposed to follow, and if you don't follow them, 99% or there are higher chances of you failing because you do not even know what the questions are requiring of you. So I have a friend of mine who was telling me, I'm not breaking through, I'm tired of praying, No. Follow what God tells you. If you haven't heard the voice of God practically, you can hear the voice of God while you read his word. As you pray, when you get dreams, if you get visions, God is speaking to you. Follow that. He knows when to deliver you. So listen to the instructions and follow. Toteka mbongobo, toteka magezigo, kola chirimo kama chakugambye, because he's the one who knows the plans that he has for you. Yamanyi jakutwala kubanga emirimu gyokola sijijo, but it is his work. So simply follow and see what God is going to do for you. I've given you examples of people who succeeded because they followed, and I've given you examples of people who failed because they did not follow instructions. For example, Saul. Kyali kyangu nnyo bamugamba lindako Samuel n'amugamba nja kumala kujja. Yes, 7 days passed. Samuel hadn't come, but it didn't mean buno tajja kujja. So kino kyalemesa kingdom ye okugenda mu maaso because he did not follow God's command. We ought to follow what God tells us, what the Bible teaches us, how we are supposed to walk in the statutes of God. We need to follow instructions. If we want to see God working in our lives, this is what we need to do. So take note of this, and I hope you learn how to follow instructions today. Follow only what God tells you. Listen to the voice of God and what it says, and do exactly that. And I promise you, God is definitely going to work in your life. God bless you. I love you.
Word of the week. Wow.